Hello and welcome to the Fit and Free podcast. This is a podcast for women who want it all, to feel strong and confident in their bodies, as well as enjoying a sneaky mug on a Friday night. I'm an exercise physiologist and sports nutritionist, here to teach you how to achieve your body goals without food and your body controlling your life. So let's jump in. Welcome back to another episode of the Fit and Free podcast, guys. I'm so excited because I have a very special guest joining us today, and that is actually one of my long-term clients, Gerri. We have been working together for almost around 2 years. I don't know exactly where we're at right now, but it has been a very long time. And I'm super excited to share her story with you because her transformation is so inspiring, from healing her relationship with food, overcoming her fears of eating more, and most importantly, building a better relationship with herself so that she has been able to fuel her body correctly, improve her body image, and get strong AF in the gym. I love sharing these stories with you guys because if it's possible for Gerri, it is absolutely possible for you as well when you allow that to be your story. So let's jump into the episode. Thank you so much for joining me here today, Gerri. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. First of all, I would love it if you could just introduce yourself and tell everyone a little bit about you.
Yeah, for sure. Super excited to be here. I love working with you, and I'm a huge fan of the podcast. So this is awesome. A little bit about me. I'm originally from Montreal, Canada, and I like to say I was born in Montreal, but raised in LA because I moved here when I was so young. So I'm from here, or I've been living here forever, and I work in marketing, and I live with my husband of 3 years. We've been together for almost 10 though. And then we have a 4-year-old dachshund dog mix.
I love that so much. And yes, as I already said in my intro before jumping onto the call with you, is we've been working together for almost 2 years now. How crazy. It's been such a long time.
It's so wild. Just how long it's been, but it also doesn't feel like that much time, really. I was trying to count how many programmed for me, and I couldn't. I was like, how many is that? How many would that be in a year? And I couldn't think of it, but yeah, it's wild how long we've been working together now.
Yeah, I love it so much. Long-term relationships of coaching it's a different vibe in comparison to someone that I've been working together for a 12-week thing. So I am super excited to diving deep into this conversation and really talking about where you started and where you are now and all the hurdles and all the things that we had to move through. And the reason why is to inspire you listening that, this shit is real, and this there's been so many struggles, and we have to kind of normalize that a little bit, because it's not an easy road to just change your body composition, especially if we're coming from a place with an unhealthy relationship with food and unhealthy relationship with body. It's this whole thing. So I really hope that Gerri's story today can really inspire you, that it's absolutely possible for you as well, because if Gerri can do it, so can everyone. Isn't that right?
It's definitely true. And the one piece that I think that what drew me to the Fit and Free Academy, and also you in general as someone on Instagram, is how real you are and how you speak to the things that people are truly dealing with without having people, no one talks about those things. And I was at a certain point where it was just so isolating to be constantly thinking about food, constantly avoiding going out with friends, avoiding trying to go to restaurants with my husband, wanting to only cook so I could count my macros properly. And it's no, you can't. I didn't have any friends that I could be hey, by the way, I do all these things. And it just felt to me like I was the only one like this.
Yeah, and that's how we feel, right? Because I remember feeling exactly the same way when I was going through it as well. Is I couldn't, have vulnerable conversations with people because, one, I thought everyone would think I was weird, because it was the obsession and the control I needed on food and exercise and all of that was next level quote unquote. I don't like using not normal, because at the end of the day, it's always coming from a place of, protection, and like truly we want what's best for ourselves, but in doing so we kind of put ourselves under this weighted blanket and we can't get out. But yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. So let's like rewind back to where we first started together in terms of before you joined the Fit&Free Academy. You just mentioned some of those things. What else were you really struggling with before we started? And during that time, what would you say that your biggest desires were?
Yeah, I would say some of the other things I was really struggling with, aside from like the food side of things, was also just the over exercising. I was trying to exercise. It was more about quantity versus quality, like doing as much exercise as I could all the time, like trying, like if I strength trained in the morning, try to go for a run in the afternoon, or like couple a run with the strength training, and just trying, like the mindset was all around burning as many calories as possible while at the same time eating as little as possible. And then I think, what was the other question around like what was the other thing you asked?
What were your biggest desires during this
Oh,
phase?
desire. Yeah, biggest desires during that time was just like, it wasn't about getting to the next level in strength training, like being able to lift more or do more reps. It was about like looking my smallest always, and like trying to constantly drop just like pant sizes, making sure, like, just I just would remember feeling like if I was under my calories for the day, I would feel so proud of myself and be like, okay, this was like a great day. Yeah.
I'm laughing at you because I used
Yeah.
to feel exactly the same. I would like give myself the biggest pat on the back when I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I ate under my calories. I went 100 calories under. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And the craziest part with all of that is like you get to a certain point, which I learned, it's taken me a long time to learn, and you've definitely coached me through, is just like it stops working. Like it doesn't, your body adapts and you just start to gain weight. And then that's when the binging starts and the restricting. And it's just like a really awful spiral almost of just feeling like you're not doing like your best, or you're not accomplishing the things, and feeling like, oh well, last month I was able to do this, why can't I do this anymore? Like, why is my body reacting this way? And that sucks. It sucks when that happens and you realize like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And during that, when you were under eating and over exercising, how did you feel?
Oh man, I mean, I think I felt exhausted all the time. Like I would have to go to bed early, and
Yeah.
I was feeling just like moody, and I would say like pretty down on myself. Just my self-esteem was super low. It was just not, I just wasn't feeling good. And like I would only feel good if I was doing the most and like all the wrong things for my body, really.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I fully feel you in that. I remember myself as well. Like I always come back to that. And it's just like just having arguments with Niels, especially in and around food. Like he would cook me dinner and I'd be like, what are you doing? Why are you
Yeah.
putting so many calories in that? And it's just like that disconnect that we feel in, not only in like in ourselves, but in just like in our immediate people around us. It's like we're pushing everyone away from us. But at the same time, it's like we want, because we want something so badly, but yet what we're doing is actually moving us so further away from that. So it makes me sad even talking about that.
I know. It's like weird now though, like talking about it. It's like, oh, that was like a different person almost,
Yeah.
because I can't even imagine really like doing that again, just because I know that you don't have to
Yeah.
to
Yeah. It's like you can eat
I
more
don't
to
know
make
how else to
it look better.
say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I love all of this so much. So with that being, you're under exercising, overeating, you think about food all the time, you're driving yourself into the ground with your exercising, training twice a day. What do you feel was the rock bottom moment? Like, why did you reach out for help, and what like got you there? Because I know for a fact that there are so many people that are afraid of seeking out the help. And I myself was afraid. I remember looking at my coach's page like for a month every single day, reading through the sales page, being like, I know I need this person's help, but I'm fucking terrified, because there's a part of us, right, that has to admit to somebody else that this is what we're doing. And that's scary. So talk me through how you navigated through that specific period.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was very similar. Like, I think I had saved one of your Instagram posts and was like looking at it a couple times a week, just being like, oh, I should really, try working with her. Like, I should reach out and look into this. Like, I need to do something different. And I think what really pushed me is just, gosh, I think it was like coupled with the holidays. Like, holidays in the past have been really hard for me. It was
Yeah.
right around holiday time, just constantly like going to parties and stuff and not eating at the parties, but then ending up, going home and eating a bunch of stuff that I didn't even want to eat. And just like, I remember one morning just being like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to like not enjoy myself at a party. Like, I don't want to not drink. I don't want to, like, I want to do things that I enjoy. Like, why do I keep doing this to myself? And so I was like, okay, like, I need to just reach out. And what I kept saying in my head is like, if I don't like it, I don't have to do it. And I can just like keep doing what I'm doing. And so that's when I reached out to you to get to do coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy. That's full circle, because it's like it's holiday
I know.
season now. So
Yeah.
like that makes complete sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think like especially during the holidays, and you've helped me with this even now, just there's weeks where there's a little bit more to do, especially in America with Thanksgiving. Just there's more around that and having like big meals during the week. And I think one of the things that you've helped me really do is like every day can be a weekend. It's your mindset. And like, it's not like you have to save your calories or do things like that. And if you indulge a little bit, like that's okay. Just move on. And it's really about the consistency, which I think has helped me so much in, reframing a lot of the things that I used to be so anxious about.
Yeah. And I love that you bring that up, especially because I've actually been thinking about that in terms of like whole like eating around the holiday season. And I've been seeing all these coaches pump out this content being like, or how to stay healthy over the holiday period, like prioritize these things, like save your calories and all of this stuff. And I'm like, well, if you just built a healthy relationship with food and you learned how to fuel your body correctly and you learned how to, eat for satisfaction, trust your hunger and fullness cues, like the holiday season is now just any other time of the year. It's no longer this special thing. So being able to like learn that knowledge and, being able to just live your normal life any time of the year is so important. And I was reflecting on that and I was like, people teach healthy relationships with food by like, here's your meal plan, and all of a sudden like you can eat chocolate within the meal plan, right? And that's what they deem as a healthy relationship with food. I'm like, well, what happens when the meal plan goes away? Like, have you actually built a healthy relationship with food, or have you just been able to include the chocolate in your meal plan? So I love that you've brought that up so much, because it's such an important piece in all of it. So elaborating on that a little bit more is like, during this period of under eating, over exercising, what were the things that you had to conquer and move through in order to get to where you are right now?
I think like the biggest piece, and I do, I reflect often and I'm like, man, I've made so much progress from when
So
we
much
first started
progress.
working together, but I think it's like really trusting, like the trust that like trust in yourself and trust in the program that it worked. Like in general, it's just all about the trust to me. I think that was the hardest part, is like I know when I'm full, like I know when I'm hungry. So like listen to that versus like not eating because it's 10 a.m. and I usually eat at noon or something like that. And I think that was like one of the biggest hurdles, honestly, for me, is just being okay with breaking those old I guess like rules that I had for myself, and
Yeah.
realizing like there aren't, like I'm making these aren't rules. These are made up in my head to do. So yeah.
Can you give a little bit more examples of some of the rules that you were living by? Like time restricted eating is such a big one, right? Like there is such a thing where people think hunger is a bad thing, right? It's
Yeah.
just like, and I spoke about that actually in my podcast before this one, in terms of like I used to do it as well. I used to ignore my hunger because I was like, oh my God, I've already eaten too much today. Oh my God, I'll run out of calories for the rest of the day. I can't eat now, even though my body is like screaming at me to eat. And now that we can sit there and look at that, it's like, I can't believe we were like, our body was hungry, but yet we didn't allow ourselves to eat.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's wild to think about now. And to answer your question, like a few of the rules, it was like I wouldn't eat before 10 a.m. I wouldn't eat past 8 p.m. I was only allowed, and this is all rules I allowed myself to only have one snack in the day if I was
Yeah,
hungry.
yeah,
No like drinks that had calories. So like my coffee in the morning had to be like a coffee with nothing in it, no creamer, no latte, nothing like that.
yeah.
Um, no, I think it was like dessert on the weekdays had to be like a low calorie, like pudding or, like fake ice cream or something like that. There were a lot of weird, or not weird, just like a lot of things that I put in my head as like, this is how I have a small body by not eating at this time, not doing this. I think another rule I had was like I had to absolutely get 10,000 steps a day, like no matter what.
Yeah,
And I think it was like one of the realizations is like, what happens if you don't get those 10,000 steps?
yeah.
Like nothing, like nothing's going to happen. It's okay. So I think, and that all goes back to just the trust. It's like, trust yourself that it's okay. Nothing bad's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to speak to that a little bit. It's because it's so important. Like what you just said, it's like, if I don't do these things, well, like if I do these things, that means I will get a smaller body. And that's why it's so, so important to pair the strategy with the mindset work in terms of being able to unpack and reframe these rules. Because until you do that sort of work, is you might get triggered from a bad body image moment. Maybe it's a pair of jeans, maybe it's a look at yourself in the mirror, and then you'll fall back into the, oh, it's because I didn't get the 10,000 steps, oh, it's because I ate the carbs, oh, it's because I broke the rules, which therefore will then lead to a self-sabotaging cycle. So I love that you brought this up because it's something that people are not really even thinking about or even considering coaching through. They're just thinking about the meal plan that they have to be more strict on and be more disciplined on, but yet they're not looking at the cause of why they're not being able to stick to something long term. So super grateful that you brought that up because it's so, so important. So as well as building trust, what was your experience like? Let's start with the eating more food, and then I want to talk about reducing the exercise, because I know both of those pieces are also very challenging, myself included. So I would love to know how you went through that and some of the things that really helped you specifically in being more confident in eating more food. And then we'll go to exercise.
Yeah, I mean, to start, when we first started working together, and I think, gosh, I want to say I was eating like 12 to 1400 calories a day
Yeah, I
to
think
have
you were on
to,
1,200 calories when you came to me.
yeah, yeah. And like to take a jump of like, I don't remember what we increased to, but it was so scary. And I remember like when I was first logging things in my fitness pal, I was like, oh, I'm gonna put like that I had more than I did so that I don't have to eat that much. And then I was that's not like that's not even helpful. Like what am I? And I remember one of the first days I did that, I was like, put half a banana in my smoothie or whatever. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put that as a full banana. And then later in the day, I was like, the whole point of working with you and doing this is to put trust into this and try it. And I was like, if I try it and it doesn't work, like I can go back to eating the 1,200 calories. Like I can go back to, and so that was what I kept building on. Like every day I was like, I can go back if I want, like, and just try it, like just keep trying it. Because one of the things I was like really believing in is like, okay, if I eat more, I'll be able to, I'll have more energy. I'll be able to train more. Like there were all these things from your courses that I learned that I kept like repeating in my head, and honestly like had to like make myself believe, even if I didn't know it. I was like, if I do it, then I'm going to believe it. And that was, yeah, that's how I started doing it. And I don't think I thought of it long term. I kept it like every day, like just do this and see what happens and see what happens, see what happens. And then it turned into, you know, I mean, how long did we say we've been almost over 2 years? Like it's been like, it's not like that anymore. Like I trust you and I trust myself completely now with that. So it really started like with small steps. Like it's really scary to increase your calories. I'm still scared to go into a surplus, as you know. Like it's scary. So I think it just takes time. Yeah.
Absolutely. It absolutely takes time, and it absolutely takes trust. And I love that you said that. And it's like creating the evidence for yourself, even though you don't have the results yet. And that's where we can really utilize leaning on other people in terms of, well, it's absolutely working for them, then it will work for me. But it's just that process of overcoming that fear. So thank you for sharing that, because it's like, I actually quite see that a lot. It's because, like, you know, you go from believing that what you're doing is going to make you smaller, and that's what you truly deeply want. So then anything that comes in and challenges essentially your ego is going to be like, fuck no, go away, I don't want to do that. And like, I'm going to pull you back and do everything in its power to be able to stop me from doing that. So I love that you were able to, that was how you were able to manage that, in terms of like just taking it day by day. 1%ers, and I talk about it all the time. It's like, it's that 1% that's going to move us 100% forward in, you know, in 1-2 years. Like look at yourself now. But then it's hard when we're in the specific moments when we want everything now, that it's hard to be in that space. So I love that you shared that. And so let's talk through like the exercise component. When we had to decrease the amount of exercise that you were doing, how did that make you feel, first of all, and how did you get through that?
Yeah, I think at first I had a hard time with it. Like I was like, oh my gosh, like now I can't run, now I can't do this. And I think what really helped me is like, why was I running? Why was I doing like spending 2 hours in the gym? Like what was the reason? And it wasn't because I enjoyed it at that point. It was because I felt like I had to. And I think one of the things,
big one there.
yeah, and I think that one of the things that really helped me with the program was like, you shouldn't feel like you need to do more after your exercise. Like that means you're not, you know, you're not doing the mind muscle connection, you're not spending enough time on your reps, you're not like learning how to do the exercise properly to be able to see those results. Like if you feel like you can do the gym for 2 hours and run and do this and that and like you're probably not exercising with intention, which is definitely like I was not exercising with intention.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I was literally thinking about that yesterday, because I did a gym session, and after the session it was like an hour and 10 minutes, and I was absolutely spent. And I thought to myself in that moment, it's like, I used to like exercise for an hour, and then I would be like, okay, cool, let's go on the treadmill now, let's go for a run. I'm like, I don't understand how I think back, I'm like, how did I used to do that? But but number two, it was obvious now that I know. It's like, yeah, I wasn't pushing my muscles to the correct intensity to give them a reason to change. So therefore I wasn't seeing those changes in my body composition. And that's what we see in that pattern of people who are, you know, throwing in the cardio, the strength, and maybe they'll go to a Pilates class as well. Is why they are, you know, stuck in that skinny fat cycle. So I love you sharing that it was difficult.
Yeah.
Because it is, right?
Yeah, it's really difficult to like break that pattern, especially if you're used to it for so long. Like I've been doing that for so many years, and to just all of a sudden stop, it just feels scary. You're like, oh my gosh, what am I like, what's going to happen if I don't do all these things every day? Definitely. And especially at the gym.
What were you afraid of if you didn't do all those things?
It's always going back to like my body. Like I was like, if I don't do all these things, I'm going to look fat and I'm going to gain weight and I'm not going to like how I look and all my muscles going to go away. And all those things just kept circling in my head constantly. Like when I initially stopped doing all of that, doing all the stuff in the gym and just really focused on the strength training, that was hard to make that switch. It was really hard.
How were you able to move through that?
Oh man. I think honestly, like it was just the day by day thing again. And then also just knowing, like in the back of my mind, I think somewhere deep, I was like, what? Like, wouldn't it be so cool if I could do a pull-up? Wouldn't it be so cool if I could like deadlift more? Like thinking of those things, like I've seen people in the gym like with an insane amount of weight on their deadlifts, with an insane like doing a ton of reps on pull-ups, and it's like, how do they do that? Like what are they doing to do that? And I remember thinking like that would be cool if I could do something like that, because when I was working with you, like maybe I was doing deadlifts and hip thrusts and all of that, but I don't think I was doing them right, and I don't think I would be able to be at where I'm at with my training if I wouldn't have stopped doing the other things.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, all that, it's hard to say now, honestly, because it's been a while and I'm so comfortable now in my strength training and doing an hour or less in the gym.
Yeah.
That it's like looking back, it's hard to remember like how I went through each day not doing more and more and more and more. I think it was really still just going back to like, this is an experiment. Like I can just experiment with this. And if it doesn't work, I can just go back to going to the gym for 2 hours or 3 hours. Like it's okay. And like, I think just knowing that it's like, it's fluid, nothing's concrete. Like you can change however you want, good or bad.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also we need I think we need to point out the element of like you seeing progress in yourself and in the gym as well. I think was a really big motivator in for you in terms of actually building trust that it works. Because I know for a lot of people, it's like they don't have the evidence of anything ever working properly. So I think that in itself also helped you in terms of, oh my God, I'm actually starting to get stronger. Oh my God, I can actually eat these foods and not binge eat. Oh my God, I can actually eat this and not get fat. So
yeah.
So
100%.
Yeah.
That's like so true. Yeah, the evidence piece, especially like I think it really did start with the food. It was like, oh my gosh, like I don't have to constantly think about food. Like I don't have to constantly be wondering what what I'm gonna eat next. Like it's like, oh, and I can have cookies in the house and not eat all the cookies if I want one. It was, yeah, it's really crazy.
Yeah, let's talk to that a little bit more in terms of what has become possible for you now, like essentially like healing your relationship with food in terms of being comfortable eating more, including all foods, getting rid of all your rules. What has become possible because of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's like I have time in my or space in my brain to think about other things.
Yeah.
Like not like I didn't even realize how much time I spent thinking about all these things all the time, like food, body, like constantly in a loop. And then when that loop's gone, you're thinking like about other things, which is like
Yes.
nice.
Yeah.
Um, but aside from that, I mean, it's like my husband and I, not that we'd always have dinner together, but now we eat the same dinner
Yeah.
together most
Mhm.
nights if I like what he's making or vice versa. Before it was like always like I had my meal plan dinner done, just heated up. That was it.
Yeah.
I go on trips, like, which is really nice, even small trips,
I
which is,
remember you going on your first holiday.
yeah.
Or I can't remember if it was your first holiday, but the one that you went with your friend in the hiking and you came back and you were like, oh, I ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I was like, I felt no guilt about it at all. And I was just like, oh my God, this is everything. This is the vibe. This is the freedom that I want everyone to feel. And I remember celebrating that specific moment with you.
I love so much that you remember that, because I remember that as like I was even back then, like I remember that was like I feel like I was getting over things, but I was still very stuck, and like being able to go on that trip and bring that peanut butter and jelly, which now it's even like, yeah, I could have that for lunch tomorrow if I wanted. But
Yeah.
bringing that peanut butter and jelly sandwich on the hike and like eating the whole thing, not, opening it and doing weird things with it. That was a huge accomplishment for me, honestly. Like that was big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that's it. This is the shit that I get excited about. It's like, it's those little moments that we have to stop and actually anchor into and being like, holy shit, like this, because it's like, everything like that is what we reward, is what we repeat. So therefore, it's like celebrating those little moments is progress. And that's what we need to focus on. And that's why, that's why I have that memory of it, because I was so proud of you for having that celebration. So I love that. Better relationship with your partner, guilt-free traveling. That's the biggest thing I get with I love celebrating that with everyone. It's like, oh yeah, I went to Italy and had pizza and had absolutely no guilt. Like it's
Yeah.
such
Yeah.
an amazing feeling. Perfect. Cool. I love that. In terms of how are you feeling right now? Talk me through
Yeah.
what specific results have you been able to accomplish over the last 2 years? I know we touched about it a little bit in terms of how you got through your journey, but I would love to know, how you're feeling now.
Yeah, I mean, results wise, I think like outside of the food, like I guess food freedom, you would say, right? Like
Yeah.
not being constantly worried about food, is just like my gym goals, like strength training in the gym. I feel like I'm so focused now on my form more than anything and like really nailing the form and feeling the mind muscle connection and increasing my weight and reps is like what I'm really trying to get into next year, this year,
Yeah.
which is something that before I didn't even really like consider it as like a progression every,
Yes.
like continuing to progress or making progress. That was something that wasn't really top of mind ever. And now it's like, I'm excited for the next phase of my training. Like it's cool to feel excited about going and doing new programs and constantly like building and building and building in the gym week over week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so addictive. Hey, actually, when you have an exercise program that actually works and you get stronger, you're like, oh my God, I feel so good all the time. And it just keeps improving.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah.
Amazing. So, with all this being said, if you could say something to your younger self, if you could give her a little bit of advice, the version of you who was under eating and over exercising, what would you say to her?
Oh gosh. I would probably say like honestly, I wish I could go back and be like, you look so good. Like just
Yes.
stop. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
please just stop. Like
Yes.
have a drink and relax. Like just relax. Yeah. So I mean, in all I think it's just I wish I really could go back and just really try to enforce that my perception was not reality,
Yeah.
really. Like, and I think I still work on that, like the perception of yourself, what you're hyper focused on is not necessarily what anyone else would ever even think to say or even think about when they see you. So that's probably the thing I would go back and be like, nobody is saying anything about your arms in that tank top. Like, just wear it. You know what I mean? Like, truly.
Truly, absolutely. It's letting go of that fear of judgment absolutely is a whole another thing in all of this. So yeah, because at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we make everything mean something about ourselves, and we're so afraid of judgment, we're so afraid of failure, and we're like this, wrapping ourselves in bubble wrap, trying to protect ourselves from all these perceived things, when in reality, it's all the stuff that we're actually doing to ourselves. So it's a skill in itself, being able to really move through and transcend all of those things, which now you absolutely can have. Sorry, because you're absolutely killing it. How much are you deadlifting now?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I'm almost a little above 200 pounds, which I don't know what that is in kilos. We constantly have this issue. Pounds to
Yeah,
kilos.
90 kilos.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I know. I get excited about that for sure. It's so cool. It's
Absolutely.
really cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to know what's next, but first I just want to ask, what were your biggest takeaways and biggest learnings from the Fit and Free Academy?
I think biggest takeaways, it's hard to say. I would like break it up. If it's at the gym, the biggest takeaways were like the intention piece, like for intention in your like every set, like not just moving on once you like to the next exercise, and like really focusing on what you're doing at the gym. I think my other big takeaways, you have so many good, what do you call them, modules or like
Yeah, my
lessons in there. I think the other takeaways were really around nutrition in general and how you break it down with the protein, the carbs, and the fats, and like building out that perfect plate to like hit your macros. And also you've really helped me be like, it's okay if you go over on your fats and carbs as long as you're hitting your protein goal. Like I say that to myself sometimes. It's like it's okay to go over by however much.
Yeah.
I think the other biggest takeaways is just like the trust in yourself. Like I'm tracking currently on MyFitnessPal, but we went through a period where I wasn't tracking at all. And it was just more about just like based on how I was feeling and like if I was hungry, if I wasn't. And I was scared to do that and nothing happened. Like it was great. So I think like the biggest takeaways from, at least for me, from your program and the Fit and Free Academy is just like you give the tools to then let someone be able to like build off of and trust themselves to like have their best life, truly. Like no joke.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that you say that, because I'm just like, oh, literally, like this shit can literally change your life, and it's one thing for me to say it, but maybe.
No, it's really true, Laura, and that's why I love your podcast. I love everything you're doing because it's like you really did change my life. Like I was so stuck. I was so trapped, like truly like in this weird lonely spiral, and you really helped me out of it, truly.
Oh,
I
I'm
know.
grateful for you.
I know. I'm grateful. I'm so happy. Yeah.
I love that so much. Thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to add? Say so there was someone listening and they were like, they wanted to start focusing on like, optimizing their nutrition, actually seeing body composition changes and really being normal basically around food.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person?
Yeah. I would say like I was the person that didn't believe like that it would work for me. Truly, I thought I was like different and like special, like in the sense that it was like these things don't work for a body like mine, for the way that I am, like my composition, everything, like it won't work for me. That's what I would say. Like that's not true. That's the story that I had in my head to like keep all the rules and make myself feel like safe in the way that I was. So I would say like just try it and see what happens, because it's definitely better on the other side. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I love that you say that, because it's such a common thing. It's like, oh, but my metabolism is broken, but this, but that. So it's so beautiful that you are pure evidence for everyone that you're not broken. No one is broken. It's the strategy and the mindset that is broken. And it's just piecing all the puzzle pieces together to really build that ultimate, the body composition and the freedom in the life. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I know you're going to be such an inspiration to so many people out there, because I know for a fact there is people listening right now that also don't believe that they can do it. So you having the courage and sitting here right now, I'm actually so proud of you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I love talking to you, and it's definitely my pleasure. And I think like I wanted to do this too because of how I used to be and how scared I was and how different I felt. So definitely.
Yeah, and I wanted to anchor into that. This you showing up and being here with me today is a testament to your own growth. So win. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. And that is a wrap. Like always, thank you so much for being here. Love you always, and I will see you in the next episode. The number one challenge that all my clients face before we start working together is a lack of clarity on how much and what to eat to lose weight. Often they are making two huge mistakes: constantly trying to skip meals or eat under 1600 calories. Secondly, only allowing themselves bad foods like chocolate on the weekend, but end up binging, all to tell themselves they're going to start again on Monday. If you feel like you have tried every diet under the sun and still can't figure out what to eat to achieve your weight loss goals, take my free 2-minute quiz. You can find the link in the show notes down below, and it will help you figure out exactly what you're doing wrong with your nutrition and exercise, and exactly what to do to fix it, so that you can finally be confident in your body and achieve your weight loss goals.